Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Nana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Nana Braja Janaranjana. Yasoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Nana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Follow. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Sri Radha Madhava ki jai, Sri Radha Giridhari ki jai. Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Gajendra Shodhara Sri Srimad. Thank you. Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Gajendra Shodhara Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samveda Bhakti ki jai, Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, assembled devotees, all glories, C.C. Guru and Sri Gauranga. So this morning we're reading the last verse of the last chapter, the summary of chapter 4. And from the class schedule given to me, I'm covering verses 1 through 5. Hold on to your sikas and saris. It's going to be a long class. Hare Krishna. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, text 33. Should I just read the translation?
No, just read the transliteration and the translation. In other words, chant verse.
Okay, text 33. Actually, you can't see it on the board. How good is your memory? Okay. Tam Bhiksha Pididam what's that? Paramasamhita, right? Okay. Tam Bhiksha Padidam Damani Tam Bhiksha Piritam Aja Sahasa Vatirya Sagrahamashu Sahasa Kripayo Jahara Grahar Vipatita Mukad Arina Gajendram Sampasyatam Hararamu Muchuchar Uchiyanam. Synonyms or word for word? Okay, translation. So this is the conclusion of the chapter. He's been praying. It says, thereafter seeing Lord Nārāyaṇa appeared in the back of Garuda. Thereafter seeing Gajendra in such an aggrieved position, the unborn Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, immediately got down from the back of Garuda by his causeless mercy and pulled the king of the elephants along with the crocodile out of the water. Then in the presence of all the demigods who were looking on, the Lord severed the crocodile's mouth from his body with his disc. In this way he saved Gajendra, the king of the elephants. Yeah. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 3rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. Now, chapter 4 is entitled Gajendra Returns to the Spiritual World. This 4th chapter describes the previous birth of Gajendra and the crocodile. It tells how the crocodile became a Gandharva and how Gajendra became an associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There was a king on the Gandharva planet whose name was Huhu. How would you like to have a name like that? Huhu Prabhu? Right? Huhu Prabhu. Is it Prabhupada any disciples with that name? It's ecstatic. If I ever become a guru, I'm going to give my disciple the name Huhu. Like that. What does it mean? We should look it up. It's probably something very auspicious. Huhu. Okay. Once this king Huhu was enjoying with women in the water. While enjoying, he pulled the leg of Devala Rishi, got the wrong person, who was also taking a bath in the water. Upon this, the sage became very angry and immediately cursed him to become a crocodile. King Huhu was very sorry when cursed in that way, and he begged pardon from the sage, who in compassion gave him the benediction that he would be freed when Gajendra was delivered by the personality of Godhead. Thus the crocodile was delivered when killed by Nārāyaṇa. When Gajendra, by the mercy of the Lord, became one of the Lord's associates in Vaikuṇṭha, he got 4 hands. This achievement is called sārūpya-mukti, or the liberation of receiving a spiritual body exactly like that of Nārāyaṇa. Gajendra in his previous birth had been a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. His name was Indudumna, and he was the king of the Tamila country. Following the Vedic principles, this king retired from family life and constructed a small cottage in the Malaya Chala Hills, where he always worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead in silence. Agastya Rishi, along with many disciples, once approached King Indudumna's ashram, but because the king was meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could not receive Agastya Rishi properly. Thus the rishi became very angry and cursed the king to become a dull elephant. In accordance with this curse, the king was born as an elephant, and he forgot all about his previous activities and devotional service. Nonetheless, in his birth as an elephant, when he was dangerously attacked by the crocodile, he remembered his past life in devotional service and remembered a prayer that he had learned in that life. Because of this prayer, he again received the mercy of the Lord. Thus he was immediately delivered, and he became one of the Lord's four-handed associates. Shukadeva Goswami ends this chapter by describing the good fortune of the elephant. Shukadeva Goswami says that by hearing the narration of Gajendra's deliverance, one can also get the opportunity to be delivered. Shukadeva Goswami vividly describes this, and thus the chapter ends. I was thinking that sometimes you think, wow, this is amazing. A dull elephant, can become delivered and engage in devotional service and go back to Godhead. That's amazing. But actually people today, there's not much difference between a dull elephant and the ordinary human being. Because we're all just absorbed in sense gratification, eating, sleeping. There's really not much difference. So it's not much of a stretch at all that an elephant can get delivered, or just an ordinary person, a human being in Kali Yuga, because they're pretty much on the same, we're all pretty much on the same level. Just all day long, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. What's really the difference? There's really no big difference at all. So, yes.
Maybe this story, which Gajendra remembers from his previous life, this prayer that he learned, is the origin of the whole Western idea that an elephant never forgets.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
I'm sure it is.
Is Mukunda in earshot? He's in charge of plays. Maybe you guys should do this play. Gajendra the elephant. You just easy on the makeup, you don't have to get a whole big elephant outfit, but the prayers and everything. We used to do Frog in the Well, that play. And the way we did that is that the devotees got in trash bags. That was like a big trash bag with their head out and maybe a little green like that. And there's right there talking. There was the well, but that was it. It was Kaviraj and this other devotee. There was like two of them talking. I just jumped back in the well. But that's what we did. We just used big trash bags from the kitchen. That was the frog body and little green. Like that. So anyways, let's continue here. So this is text number 1. Nedur. Is that on the board? No, that's 2. I'm sorry. Drop it down. I'm sorry. Shisuku vacha tada devarshi Gandharva Parameshana Purogamaha Mumuchu Kushamasaram Samsanta Karma Tad Darehe Shisuku Vacha Tadadevarshi Gandharva Brahmeshana Purogamaha Mamuchu Kushamasaram Samsanta Karma Taddarahi Shisuku Vacha Tadadevarshi Gandharva Brahmeshana Purogamaha Mamuchu Kushamasaram Samsanta Karma Taddarahe. Anyone like to chant? Shri Sukho Vacha Tadadevarshi Gandharva Shana Purogamaha Mubuchu Kushamasaram Samsanta karma dadhare. Shri Shuka Vacha. Tada Devarshi Gandharva. Samsanta karma tadare. Ladies. Shri Sukha Vacha. Tada Devarshi Gandharva. Brahmeshana Purogama. Muchu Kushamosaram. Samsanta karma tadare. Anyone else online?
Shri Sukha Vacha.
Shri Sukha Vacha.
Tada Devarshi Gandharva. Ramesh Tana Purogamaha. Mumuchu Kusumasaram.
Muchu Kusham Sasaram.
Shamsanta Karma Tadare.
Samsanta karma dadare. Shri Shuka Vacha. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, Tada, at that time, when Gajendra was delivered, Deva Rishi Gandharvaha, the demigods, sages, and Gandharvas, Brahma Ishana Purogamaha, headed by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Mumuchuhu, showered, Kusuma Asaram, a covering of flowers, Samsantaha, while praising, Karma, transcendental activity, Tat, that, Gajendra Mukshana, Harehe, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, when the Lord delivered Gajendra, king of the elephants, all the demigods, sages, and Gandharvas, headed by Brahma and Shiva, praised this activity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and showered flowers upon both the Lord and Gajendra. Purport. It is evident from this chapter that great sages like Devala Rishi, Narada Muni, and Agastya Muni will sometimes curse someone. The curse of such a personality, however, is in fact a benediction. Both the crocodile, who had been a Gandharva in his previous life, and Gajendra, who had been a king named Indradumna, were cursed, but both of them benefited. Indradumna, in his birth as an elephant, attained salvation and became a personal associate of the Lord in Vaikuṇṭha, and the crocodile regained his status as a Gandharva. We find evidence in many places that the curse of a great saint or devotee is not a curse, but a benediction. I'm going to just offer respects, and then I'll read some more verses and translations, and we'll talk. Om Agyan Timarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unminitam Dina Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Dina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svapadandikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchikapatarubhascha kripasindhu bevacha patitanam bhavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Text 2, translation. There was a beating of kettle drums in the heavenly planets. The inhabitants of Gandharvaloka began to dance and sing, while great sages and the inhabitants of Charnaloka and Siddhaloka offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Texts 3 and 4. Translation. The best of the Gandharvas, King Huhu, having been cursed by Devala Rishi, had become a crocodile. Now, having been delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he assumed a very beautiful form as a Gandharva. Understanding by whose mercy this had happened, he immediately offered his respectful obeisances with his head and began chanting prayers just suitable for the Transcendental Lord, the Supreme Eternal, who is worshipped by the choicest verses. Purport. The story of how the Gandharva had become a crocodile will be described later. The curse by which the Gandharva took this position was actually a blessing, not a curse. One should not be displeased when a saintly person curses someone, for his curse indirectly is a blessing. The Gandharva had the mentality of an inhabitant of the celestial planetary system, and for him to become an associate of the Supreme Lord would have taken millions of long years. Not even millions of short years, but millions of long years. You know how that is sometimes? Time just seems to sometimes really feels like it's taken forever for something to happen. Others, it just goes so fast. But it's the same amount of time. Right? Just like class. Well, the class is like a half hour. In some class you think, man, this is a long class. Other times it's like, boy, that was a fast class. But it was a half hour. But some or other it seems to adjust. So these are millions of long years. However, because he was cursed by Devala Rishi, he became a crocodile, and in only one life was fortunate enough to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face and be promoted to the spiritual world to become one of the Lord's associates. Similarly, Gajendra was also delivered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he was freed from the curse of Agastya Muni. And the last text we're supposed to do today, text 5, translation. Having been favored by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and having regained his original form, King Huhu circumambulated the Lord and offered his obeisances. Then in the presence of all the demigods headed by Brahma, he returned to Gandharva Loka. He had been freed of all sinful reactions. So we're talking about curses and the benefit of curses. And it's interesting because, well, it's a point to note that it is said that when Krishna kills someone, they're immediately liberated. They can become liberated. The example is given, everyone on the battle of Kurukshetra. Many of them were, of course, there's different kinds of liberation, but there's an example here with the Gandharva, which is something in Krishna's pastimes and Krishna, but maybe it was the Vidyadhara who took the form of the big snake. He went back to heaven, right? He was killed, but he just went back to heaven. In other words, they don't always go to Vaikuṇṭha, or even the Nalakuvara Manigriva. They didn't go back to Vaikuṇṭha. They stayed in their positions as the sons of Kuvera, but they were always Krishna conscious. So that's a type of liberation also. Just like I've heard that sometimes it's said that forefathers and family members become liberated, and the explanation is they get a chance to be devotees, very nice devotees. That's a type of liberation. So what does that mean for all of us here in this room? We're already liberated because we're devotees. Right? How are you enjoying your liberation? Okay, that's a type of liberation. You become a Vaishnava, a devotee. So, saying here that curses aren't always bad. When they're delivered by a saintly person, there's something very good there. Because a saintly person never does anything bad, right? So whatever they do is good for the benefit of whoever they're dealing with. So, yes. Yeah. And we can see Krishna's in the heart because it says here the demigods were there. Why didn't they save Gajendra? Why didn't they break up the fight? They're demigods. They're pretty powerful. It's because Krishna's in the heart, and he was aware of that curse, And it was up to Krishna himself, Nārāyaṇa himself, to come and save Gajendra. No one else, somehow or other, the inspiration wasn't there. Right. So in other words, part of the curse was he told King Huhu that just wait, when Gajendra is delivered by Nārāyaṇa, you'll also become delivered from the curse too. So now this is not to encourage devotees to curse each other. So don't go off on this one today, thinking that, oh, whatever I say unpleasant to a devotee, Prabhu, sooner or later you realize it was actually a benediction. Like that. And be very, very careful about that one. Like that. So, but the point is how even curses, somehow or other, just like Narada Muni, of course that's an example, Narada Muni cursing Manigriva and Nalakuvara, to stand as Arjun trees. But where were those Arjun trees? Were they in, Goa somewhere or Krishna's backyard? I mean, if you're going to be a tree, you might as well be a tree in Krishna's backyard, just like these trees along out here on our property, especially this side here. These trees have been here since almost day one. The temple was established. How much prasadam have they dumped on them, and how much of the holy name have they heard, right? It's pretty amazing, the souls in those bodies. So their different benedictions are given. I was just thinking of something from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, I'm jumping ahead here. Okay. Good devotees are always trying to accelerate everyone's return back home, back to Godhead. Devotees are very anxious. If left alone, just like Prabhupada in the Purport, and I brought it up, millions of long years. If no one interrupts our trajectory, is that the word? Yeah. We're just going to be here for millions of long years, up and down, up and down. What is that? Brahmanda Brahmite Konya Bhagavan Jeev. So we're just, Prabhupada says, kicked around this material world like a football. It's referring to a soccer ball. Boom! You see a soccer game, they just kick it, right? Just back and then back. Every once in a while someone gets it and makes a goal, but more or less that ball just goes flying from one foot to the next and bounces off the head. And so Prabhupada said, that's our life in this material world. One species, poof, then another species. And when's it going to end? When's it going to end? And there's no end in sight. Millions of that, if we just let it go. So there's this, wherever the wind bloweth, I goeth, kind of merrily, merrily down the stream. They have different sayings like this. Or, here's a big one from the 70s, go with the flow. Remember that one? Just go with the flow. Well, where's the flow going? When you flush the toilet, where's the flow going? Right into the gutter. It's right to the sewer. So going with the flow of the material nature, well, guess what? You got birth, death, disease, and old age, all these varieties of species. So it's not such a good thing to just go with the flow, because the flow sometimes is not going in a good direction. There's a story Brahmananda Swami told, Brahmananda Prabhu and Shruti Kirti. They were in South India, somewhere in India, with Prabhupada, and it was very, very hot. And there was a flume. You know what a flume is? You know what a flume? When they want to move water from one place to other, it's kind of like half a circle, and water flows in that along somewhere, then somewhere else. So there was a flume up there in BV, Bhaktivedanta Village, the Gurukula I taught at. The boys were trying to swim in it. You got to be careful though, because you really get going fast. So there was a flume, and they jumped in, or swimming. Brahmananda got caught in the current, and it was going to go over a cliff, like that. So he was going with the flow. I think Shruti Kirti or someone saved him at the last minute. So, Hare Krishna. So, yeah, must probably a few devotees saved him. So going with the flow, I think I'll be really careful. The material flow. We want to go with the Krishna flow, and that's the flow back home, back to Godhead. But this idea of and so many devotees, all of us feel it, and it's expressed many, many times when devotees are offering their Vyasa Puja sentiments and writings to their spiritual masters, how you saved me. Had you not saved me, who could have, how fearful a thought, where I would have landed up. Where would I have gone? What would have happened if I never heard of Krishna? I never heard I was a spirit soul. Never heard these things. What would have happened to me? You know. And the answer to that is just look at all those who have never heard of Krishna, and the soul is very, very unfortunate situation. So Vaishnavas are always interrupting of that trajectory that people are on. That's intervention. Okay, there you go. Krishna and I have decided you need a... So we're intervening with their normal course. And people sometimes get upset. How come you Hare Krishnas? You're everywhere. Like that. And back in the 70s especially, I'm going to the airport, you're there. Man, everywhere I go there's a Hare Krishna. You know? Well, they're trying to stop you from going over the waterfall. They're trying to stop you. That's what they're doing. And those who, like we said, the devotees, after one becomes a devotee, appreciates that. Yes, I was ready to go over the waterfall and someone saved me. Someone saved me. But you don't know that. You don't know. You think everything's just fine. Everything's just fine. And so that's the potency of Maya, and it's the kindness of the devotees. And even, the story here, even a curse from a devotee. They wanted to put an end to these poor souls' material life. I mean, that's what was going on. Just like Narada Muni cursing the sons of Kuvera and so on. That curse was an attempt to accelerate the speed of them getting out of the material world. Prabhupada's saying here, that the Gandharvas live for millions of years, heavenly planets, and they're just having a great time. Right? Whenever there's a party, they call them. You know who they are? They're the singers. Right? You need if you have a party, you need someone to sing. Right? You have a party and no one's singing, it's like you have a kirtan and no one sings. A festival and there's no one singing. It's like, well, you need someone to sing and you need someone to dance. Who are the dancers? Because you got Charan, and there's a whole list there. And the Gandharvas are the singers, you got the dancers, ones who play musical, I mean they all do, but expert. You got the musicians of the Devatas, you got the dancers, you got the singers. And whenever there's an auspicious occasion, they're there. They just happen to show up and they're throwing flowers everywhere and dancing and glorifying the Lord. But anyways, the point is, Gandharva, singer, great time, and then millions of years like that. But all of a sudden, boom, he gets in a little bit of trouble there with some sage's leg, and he gets cursed. And he's thinking, oh no, I want to be a Gandharva and I'm cursed. And he begged for forgiveness and he said, okay. You'll be delivered from this curse of being a crocodile when Gajendra's delivered. He said, okay. So he's probably like in the water looking for Gajendra. Right? And Gajendra walks by, come on, the water. Come. And then finally it happens, It's like, I'm not getting out of here until you get in the water. So he's probably like following Gajendra down the river different days. Then he finally got in. I've been waiting for him to get in this water a long time. You can just see how their eyes are just above the water. So he's probably watching Gajendra at different times, thinking, I wish that he's the one. He's got to get in the water like that. So Gajendra. But this was actually a great benediction because it cut short his material life by millions of lifetimes. Prabhupada said that if we don't become Krishna conscious, it could be millions of lifetimes before we get another chance. You know what happens when we hear that? Our mind shuts off. No, it's too much to handle. If I tell you, if you don't become Krishna conscious in this lifetime, it's going to be a few million before you get back to New Govardhan. Can you handle that? No, can't handle that. So we just shut down. But that's the fact. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Become very, very serious. Become very, very afraid of this material nature. Because it just carries us away. Just carries us away. So, all glories to the devotees of the Lord. Whatever it takes. Sometimes it's just like cursing is not a conventional thing to do, right? Of course, today people don't seem to. I guess they curse, but it's a different thing. They just yell at you with some profanity. They're not going to like, I curse you to take birth as a, as a dog or this or that or what have you. They just curse you, go to where, like that. Go visit Yamaraj, more or less, right? That kind of a curse. But, people who have some tejas, some potency, they can, whatever they say, be careful. They can bless you and it comes true, and they can curse you and it comes true. But devotees are, whatever way necessary in their preaching, they try to be as appropriate as possible, but they make so many different plans to cut short the material life of the conditioned souls and have everyone return back home, back to Godhead. So that's their kindness. So it's a little bit late. One thing, of course, it may not be cursing, but sometimes we may be in a situation where a devotee uses some strong words with us. Do you ever have that happen to you? Do you ever get any devotee to use strong words with you? How about you? Do you ever have that happen? Well, you need it. I think everyone's had, right? Raise your hand, you've never had a devotee get upset with you and speak a little strongly. Raise your hand. He gets the mercy every single day. Like that. That's why he's so advanced. So, we're advised to, thank you. Thank you very much. That's the mood. Thank you very, very much. And see it as Krishna's kindness, and just like the devotees here, the two personalities, Gajendra and the crocodile, when they came out of it, oh, thank you, Krishna. Thank you so very much for making this arrangement, through your devotees. So devotees are very, very thankful. However Krishna wants to get me out of this material world, okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. And seeing everything as Krishna's trying to get me out. In Srila Prabhupada's life, when his whole business fell apart and everything, he'd always quote that verse. What is that? Anusha? Yasyaham anugrahami. It's a mercy of Krishna's mercy. He just ruins everything for you. If he just takes it all away. Like that. So, that's Krishna's kindness. So, that's one thing to take from this class. Another reminder that sometimes, and that's from us, we have to be careful. We're in a position speaking to other devotees. Is it really necessary that the expression is blow them out of the water? You heard that expression before? Blow them out of the water? Because it's appropriate saying, blow them out of the water. But you have to be careful. But sometimes it's there, but we always take it, oh, okay, whatever it is. Just like as I'm reading now, finishing up volume 5 of Memories, Prabhupada Memories, from Siddhanta. And always devotees are talking about encounters with Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada get a little heavy with them. In fact, it's interesting, he said there's one devotee, I think it was a sannyasi who was there in the morning with Prabhupada. Actually, this was from another class I was listening to. But talking about material desires. There's a verse there about, material desires always, and we have to tolerate them. That's part of, you have a material body, you have to tolerate and keep going. So there's one devotee saying to Prabhupada, Krishna consciousness is so blissful. I am so happy in Krishna consciousness. Every day is so wonderful, and I have no material attractions at all. I'm not attracted to women. I'm not. And Prabhupada said, you must be dead. Prabhupada said, you must be dead. In other words, the attractions are always there. We tolerate them because you have a material body. You got to sleep. You got to eat. These things are there. You can't just, I'm completely free. And he told another story about sleeping. Want to hear a story about sleeping? Devotee sleeping? This devotee in England, in the manor, really fired up. We always remember devotees like this, and there's probably still some today. They're just like so fired up, they want to be like Raghunath Das Goswami. So he was sleeping 2 hours a night. But they noticed that whenever he sat down anywhere, he fell asleep. In class, during Prasadam, wherever he was. And he told a story, they used to go in Sankirtan, probably still do, on the tube. You know what the tube is in England? The tube, and that's the subway. So they get on and then go, and then a certain spot get off and do Sankirtan, then come on. But this devotee would get on and fall asleep and miss his spot, go all the way to the end of the line, wake up, oh, Prabhu, and then get back on. But what did he do? He'd fall asleep and miss the going the other way. So gradually he'd get enough sleep and wake up and get off sometime during the day at the right spot. But this is all because he was thinking, I'm so austere, I'm just going to sleep 2 hours a night at the temple. But your body doesn't let you do that. You know, you have to be intelligent. So he told that story. It's a good story. So anyways, Krishna's devotees are very, very kind, and one's always very anxious for advancement and sees even difficult things like this, maybe someone being strong with us in their words, that Krishna's working through them, and there's a Krishna conscious response to the situation. So in every situation there's a Krishna conscious response and there's a Krishna unconscious response to every single situation, whatever it is. And that's all we can be asked, is to choose the Krishna conscious response to what's happening right here and now. And that's what it means to learn to be a devotee. Because all kinds of things are going to happen to us. All kinds of things. I was just telling, most mornings I listen to the podcast from Kaustubha and Raghunath. And Raghunath, they were just in Vrindavan, and they got into his wife, or girlfriend, not married yet, Mira, there at Govardhan, and she wasn't feeling good, so let's just go back to they're staying at the temple, our temple there in Govardhan, and got in the rickshaw, and he was, looking around this, and he turned around, and she was like this, unconscious. Just went unconscious. So she's thinking he died, what's going on? She's, and the rickshaw wall is, ISKCON, and what to do and call and this and that. And finally they got her to some little hospital, and she was completely unconscious. Like, is she dead? Is she dying? Is she barely breathing? And what to do? It's like, and all she remembers saying is, whatever you do, don't take me out of the Dham because I'm dying. And this whole thing. And then finally they got her to a hospital in Mathura where they did some testing. It was just a little seizure. But I mean, can you imagine just you two go to Vrindavan together, and all of a sudden, because if he does, you think he's just fallen asleep on you or something like that. But Govardhan just like passes out. He's like he can't wake him up, and what to do and who to call, and what a fright. So all kinds of things happen to the devotees. She's fine, and they're coming back to the U.S. and having more tests and so on. But wow, so. When every single circumstance as intense or unbelievable or traumatic, we have to learn to have a Krishna conscious response to it, like that. So we can end here. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Little comment about the Gandharvas. I've got several entries here, and I looked, and each one of them says the celestial demigod, dancers, singers, and musicians.
All
three.
Okay, so they're the band.
Yeah, they're the entertainment.
Okay. Nothing on who? Okay. Microphone. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, we're waiting.
You were speaking about devotees intervening, with other people's lives. I always appreciated this by Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. He said, the ordinary person, they're trying to sleep. And the devotees, they're turning the lights on. That's why they're so angry at us, turn off the lights. But we're like, no.
Yeah. So therefore, the devotees are more tolerant than a tree. humble, very, very tolerant, because people don't appreciate like that. Prabhupada said if they knew what they would tell me to go back. I've arrived in your country, no illicit sex, no enticing, go home. Go home. So, yeah, go home. Please go home. Like that. So, but that's the devotee's work. Like that. So we can end here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.